real estate, residential prices is a big issue, no question. There's not enough land in Hong Kong is not because of the government. So who is to be responsible for the lack of land in Hong Kong of the last 24 years? Number one is the politicians. Check the record, as I did. Every time the government wanted to sell land, the pan-Democrats politicians said no. One little minor issues of, I don't know, 5 million, 10 million Hong Kong dollars took a year or more to pass the electoral. So that's ridiculous. So they don't want to sell land so that the people can blame the government for not selling land. Successive generations of government leaders, in particular under C.Y. Leung, and then later, even under Kerry, they wanted to sell land, but they were unable to because they were stopped by electrical. And then they turn around and blame the government for not selling land. That is really, really a trickery that is very, very sad. Now that with the national security law, now is the time for the Hong Kong government to, pardon my language, get on its butt and get the land going. Right now, 42% of Hong Kong's land mass is public country park. Take 2% out, 1% for infrastructure, 1% for residential building. Right now, only 7% of Hong Kong's land mass is residential. So if you add 1% to it, that is 17% more land entering into the market within the next 5 years. Exactly. And so it is a solvable problem. It was a political problem. It was not an economic problem. Young people in Hong Kong are unhappy. One of the reasons, besides not having the ability to buy a residential, is because there are sectors in Hong Kong, in particular two, the educators and the media, that have affected generations of young people in the last 24 years. Under the Brits, they dare not do it. The Brits will come down hard on you. We all know the facts. But now that, under Chinese rule, they are unhappy because some media and some educators, a lot of educators in Hong Kong, have systematically poisoned the minds of the young people. They tell them that anything Beijing does is evil. And by extension, anything that Hong Kong government, which is now part of China after 1997, does is evil. And so that's what painted the blue and the yellow. That's what painted the me versus you.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened in Hong Kong in the last 24 years when the most so-called popular newspaper, by the way, they began by having indecent photographs in the newspaper to attract students. Gradually, they diminished that and increased the hatred toward Beijing and toward Hong Kong. And as a result, a whole generation of young people have been poisoned that way. In America, whether you're on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle or with either party, once the national anthem is played, everybody stand up, hand to heart, and everybody sing the same song. In Hong Kong, you would have half of the population stand up and have their back to the flag, and then have terrible hand signs, which I will never allow my sons or grandsons to do, okay? And so when that is the case, how the hell do you practice the so-called one man, one vote democracy? So a lot of things has to be undone, and we are having finally a chance to undo a lot of things and rebuild a lot of things. And if the next CE is a proper one that can fix it, I think that Hong Kong will still have good hope.